Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to church now.
I love that sample. I'm using that every Sunday now. There's been no search for it. Yeah. Hit the like button. Hit the bell, like Teresa's saying on the bottom.
Like a detective trying to crack a particularly stubborn case. My therapist was scowling at my weekly anxiety and depression scores like a detective trying to crack a particularly stubborn case. There were no signs of improvement, and the scores followed no real measurable pattern that were consistent with bipolar. After nearly 2 years of talk therapy and taking enough medications to fill a pharmacy, he sat down with me and he dropped the bombshell that he didn't think that I had bipolar. In fact, he said that he didn't think that I had depression at all. And it was a very odd thing to be stripped of an identity in an instant. The reality was that a 20-minute in and out consultation 2 years ago led to...
That's quite wild, just the shock of losing a diagnosis. Because all of us do that where we relate our identity to something. For me, it's music or other things, or like the workaholic thing. Like that's always been a part of my identity kind of thing. And then when you realize that it's not all that, like it's more than just one type of thing. But I just can't imagine just be like, oh, you're diagnosed with this. And then, you know, for that whole time, you're trying to figure that out. And then you get told that you don't have that diagnosis. So you lose trust in the system. So you're losing like trust in understanding how you operate. I think that's a lot just mentally to take in at that point.
2 years of swallowing pills that I never needed and devoting so much of my time to managing the condition that I never actually had. The emotions inside me swirled around like a mismatched soup. On one hand, I was full of anger and I was bitter about the whole situation, but I was also hopeful that this new path could offer me the relief that I desperately needed. He told me he was going to refer me to an ME clinic in Bath. I'd never heard of it before, but instinctively true to character, I started researching it online as soon as I got home. Apparently ME is the medical equivalent of a choose-your-own-adventure book, with tiredness as the only consistent plotline. There were no universally accepted reasons as to why the fuck it existed in the first place. It seemed it was largely accepted to be a post-viral condition, but that was all speculative because there were no clear consensus in the medical community what ME even was. The defining characteristic was a tiredness that wouldn't go away with rest. I could relate to this. In fact, I could more than relate to it. For anyone lucky enough to have not have experienced this.
And the thing is, like, people will be like, oh, you're just tired. You got to do this or do that. And then you're like, no, I know it's something more.
If you want an idea of what it's like, force yourself to stay awake for 3 nights in a row. During this time, eat the food that makes you feel terrible, and in this sleep-deprived state, exercise until your muscles give out. By the 3rd day, you'll have a small insight into living with this condition. During the years post-stem cell transplant, where I recovered a lot of my health and functionality, I remember getting COVID and thinking it was a walk in the park compared to the first year of my illness. The difference was COVID lasted about a week. The thick of my illness lasted 8 years. And it only was getting worse.
He's very lucky that he made it out of that, made it out of COVID, having an underlying illness. I mean, a lot of the issues with getting COVID, well, getting COVID in general is horrible. But if you already have an illness and got COVID, a lot of people didn't make it alive. So he's very lucky that it didn't interact with Lyme disease in a weird kind of way where it just ended his life. It could have easily done that, and it didn't. Very, very lucky.
I pinned a lot of hope on going to that first visit at the ME clinic. It was a 6-month waiting list, God bless NHS wait times, but I felt excited to be surrounded by people who would understand me, where I could climb out of this nightmare. But my hopes were pretty quickly crushed during that first visit. I remember walking into a space that looked like a disused classroom where a bunch of people on chairs were sitting around in circles like Alcoholics Anonymous. I could feel a sense of camaraderie and that we all felt like dog shit. We were all confused and we were all desperately wanting to feel better. I believe at the time I was probably the youngest in the group. The group leader waddled in and handed us all a booklet that looked like a school timetable. She then sat us down and told about this new revolutionary technique called pacing, where you write down and track everything that you do in a day, and then you do it less. And then with time, do it more again. The theory being that you have a limited bucket of energy compared to normal people, and you need to protect that and gradually push it. I thought this sounded pretty stupid, so I raised my hand. I told her about the pain in my body. I told her that my muscles twitched constantly. I told her that my bones ached. I told her that my mouth was dry, I couldn't focus, that some days they'd be without mercy and I'd be trapped in bed for the whole day. But the days that I wasn't, I wanted to make the most of it. I wanted to breathe the air and I wanted to live. She told me she understood it's hard, but she didn't really offer more than that. She just pointed at the booklet and told me.
You notice the main thing he always says, he had a will to live. He wanted to be alive, you know?
To follow it. I asked her about things like heavy metal poisoning, about chronically reactivating viruses, about defective mitochondria, about all the things that I read that were linked to chronic fatigue, but she just raised an eyebrow, looked at me like I was a hypochondriac and told me she knew nothing about those things. I remember walking out of the building feeling disheartened and defeated, so much so that my legs buckled as I was walking home. I began to sob uncontrollably on the side of the road. An old woman knelt down to comfort me and asked me what was wrong. I didn't even really know how to explain, so I just told her that I missed my friend. Despite my skepticism, I stuck to the program for at least half a year, and I kept going for my periodic visits to the clinic, and it did jack shit. In fact, I got worse. I was always getting worse. One thing that particularly struck me about the ME support group.
And that's part of the suffering, right? Part of the suffering is not having answers at all for what's going on. And that can play into it. And then it plays into the hypochondriac that you become, because you have something and then you keep thinking you have everything else and you keep adding onto that list. That's just horrible. It can wreak havoc on your mind tremendously.
Which was the pure desperation and confusion. With most other conditions, you're given a diagnosis, a prognosis of whether it's going to kill you, and what you can do to manage it or cure it. With ME, you don't get that. You get an indeterminately long sentence to purgatory. You feel worse than you've ever felt in your whole life, and you're given no explanation as to why, and no signpost pointing the way out. There was no selection bias to the people suffering. Members of the group were anything from esteemed ex-lawyers to single parents to former athletes. One thing I can say, these people were for the most part all extremely driven and collectively mourning their old lives. There's a stigma that because ME's predominant presentation of symptoms is tiredness, that its victims are just being lazy. I can tell you firsthand that me and every single person I've met with genuine ME would rather run 1,000 marathons than have to live another week with the tiredness and the unrelenting fatigue. We were at war with our tiredness, trying desperately to escape it, and some of us would go to extreme lengths to turn ourselves into guinea pigs to try and find ways out. Suicide was pretty common in those online support groups. It was around this time I was
something was hitting me hard right now as he was talking. I'm like, man, he had something that was causing this stuff to go on. And when I sit here and reflect, I put myself into the illnesses that I had, which it's like, what the fuck, the addictions and the self-sabotage, but then there's nothing wrong with you, so to say. I guess it's all in your head. And then he had something that was actually taking him there. So for me right now, listen to this, like I got this like overwhelming feeling of guilt. Like, wow, like there was something going on, or like in thinking about my situation, I fucking caused the damage. It's I don't know if that makes sense. It's just weird.
Followed into the music industry. I was out busking on the streets one day and I noticed this sketchy, good-looking Mauritian guy with his arms crossed watching me really intensely, as though he was studying every lyric coming out of my mouth. He approached me and asked me if the songs I was singing were mine. I said they were. A big smile was painted across his face, and he told me he just finished recording Plan B's latest record, which turned out to be The Defamation of Strickland Banks, one of my favourite albums of all time. He was looking for a new project to sink his teeth into, and he asked me if I'd come to London to record. We got into it. The whole time I felt dreadful, but this was a lifelong dream materialising in front of my eyes. So bit by bit, when I could, I'd get the train to London and start chipping away at my first ever album. I didn't really let on how I was feeling during this time because I didn't want to sabotage it. There would be times I'd finish up in the vocal booth after doing the take, excuse myself to go to the toilet, throw up from the dizziness I was experiencing, sometimes with specks of blood, and then I'd go back and pretend that nothing had happened. I'd be sitting around with the whole room spinning and would pretend I was fine. There was only so long that I was able to keep this up. Eric told me it'd be a cool idea for me to start going to industry showcases and start building buzz. Performing live like this was a whole new level of taxing that I wasn't ready for, but I was so ferociously ambitious that I just plowed through. The usual way it would...
Yeah, the ambition kept him going through everything that he was going through. That's how high of a level of ambition he had, how much talent he had in him. Like, the talent is the ambition and the want, the will to do it, the will to live, the will to keep going. Like, he wouldn't even let an illness that was like resulting into him barely being able to move or do anything, get dizzy, almost collapse. All that stuff helped him power through. And that's where, in my head, the talent really lies, is his ability to focus all that into making sure that music comes out. And that's impressive.
Go is I'd be in the back of Charlie's car, the whole world would be spinning. I'd be trying my best to sleep in it all day, parked up outside of whatever venue or pub it was in London, trying to conserve energy for the show. Sometimes I'd cry a little before I performed. My whole body would be burning. Then I'd brush it off and I'd get on stage and I'd perform as best I could. People would come up to me at the end, pat me on the back. I'd smile and pretend to be charismatic. Then I'd get back in the car and I wish I was in bed and have to endure a 3-hour drive back to Bath from London. There was only a few shows where I could keep pretending. I'd usually be trying to disguise the fact that my body was trembling through the fatigue and pain. Eventually I started crying mid-set. It became blindingly obvious to everyone working with me during that time that something was very wrong. I told Eric that I needed to take some time out. My plan was to live at home with my mum for a month maximum, get my energy back, and come and finish the record. That 1 month turned into 2 months, turned into 3 months, turned into 6 months. I'd pushed myself to total burnout. The distance led to me and that angel breaking up, in part because it was difficult to navigate a relationship when you have so much brain fog, and I didn't know what it was well enough to be able to explain it to her at the time. With a loud...
Imagine having your dreams unfolding in front of you. It's about to be a reality. Everything that you could possibly want in this profession is about to happen. You're about to get what you want, but at the same time, you're just completely wrecked inside. And you're like, fuck, I can't even enjoy this thing that I wanted, since he was young. That tragedy is crazy. Like, you find, especially just knowing how much drive he had to want to do this. And then, yeah, it's just, but he's being destroyed on the inside.
Thought I'd been jolted out of a Shakespearean storyline. I lost the record deal and I couldn't get out of bed. My friends from Trick the Fox never really called to check up on me. It felt like the whole world was moving at lightning speed without me. I had this amazing opportunity right in front of me and I was chained to the floor. I was alone. I was sick. I wished that my condition would get it over with and kill me, but it wouldn't, and it felt cruel that it wouldn't. It just let me rot in bed. The whole world would continue to turn and I would rot. In the next episode, I'm going to tell you about a fight with a television and losing my anal virginity to an 80-year-old man. Stay tuned for that.
Oh, fuck, I needed that joke, right? Perfect timing. Oh, I was like, I think I forgot the tissues. They're right here. Oh, that was good. That was fucking good. I was like, in the middle, like, just kind of just tearing up a little bit, and he said that joke kind of snapped me out. Perfect timing, Ren. Perfect timing. I really related to when he was saying pretending to be charismatic. God damn, that's so relatable. I'm the introvert that trained himself to be an extrovert, if that makes sense. And that's exactly what it is. And a lot of extroverts that are a bit more charismatic, right? So that when he said that line, I was like, yeah, because I was always like the quiet kid, didn't say anything, which I know for some of you watching right now are thinking, what? And it's because I saw what success looked like and I made myself open up. Unfortunately, sometimes when I discovered alcohol, it made that easier to do. And that's where everything went downhill. And then, of course, with cocaine, that adds to the more, it's because it's such a high dopamine rush where you're able to feel like you're being more charismatic, but it's technically all within you. It's just breaking down those walls and those barriers to actually come out and talk or say whatever. But yeah, Ren's good with those suckered punches. I agree.
My thought patterns are composed by a time bomb for an author. Like pigs to the slaughter. A symphony of self-doubt sings out, breath starts getting shorter. Running water is the state that I wish to become. Instead, concrete envelops my movement and I'm rendered deaf and dumb, unable to heed the advice of others. Don't tell me things will get better, cause so far things haven't gotten better. I've got the sweater, poster child, bipolar, ADHD, therapist, wet dream. I don't want to talk about my father, I don't want to talk about my dead friend, I don't want to talk about myself. I'm sick of talking about myself. I'm sick of talking about myself and realizing that talking about myself never ever helps. Still, I call for help, cause I really want help. But the pills didn't seem to help, and the therapist didn't seem to help. But still, I want help. I've danced with the devil in hell, I've sat in a prisonless cell, and here I always dwell, in this prison in myself. I do this thing where my mind travels back to the golden age. You know those times where you were carefree and everything was golden? The golden age. You know those times where everything was golden, where you were carefree and everything was golden? The hardest thing I ever had to do was come to terms with the fact that that time never really existed. I've always felt so fucking detached and broken, bruised and mismatched. Find it hard to relax, living under the cracks. Tried to fill in the gaps, lying here on my back. Still, I can't find it. Sense of peace in my mind declined it. Pulse increase and my sweat combines with a feeling so deep I fall inside it. Depression, I hate you, depression. Your constant oppression, respond with aggression. They say depression brings you lessons. Constant stressing conceals blessings. You will grow in broken settings. Fuck those lessons, fuck depression. I've been living in your shadow for so long that I forgot how I can shine, how I can find a refuge in my mind. How am I meant to sit here and unwind? The planets align. I feel like I'm cursed, feel like I'm cursed to just be here to hurt. Feel like I'm cursed to just be here to bleed, but my demons been feeling this way since birth. Depression, I hate you. 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 Depression, I hate you.
Well, fuck. I think it's a good time to bring this up. I didn't realize it was going to be about this, but it's very... it's just very relatable, like that feeling of standing there. Everything is just going and going, and you're like not there, but you're there. And so that happened this last Saturday, and I fucking gave in. I went and got completely wasted, and then completely slipped back into those habits. And I was like, oh, you know, this is the last time. And then it turned into a 3-day binge, and that's why I missed last Sunday. And it's obviously, like Teresa pointed out earlier, still wreaking havoc on me. But it's because I get trying to figure out how to say this without breaking down. So like, it got pretty scary because near the end of this, I from what I was told, I completely disappeared. I was in cold sweats. Like my heart was hurting pretty bad. So it was definitely, it just went nuts. And it's the regret of like, damn it, like things are going good, but they're not going good. That's why I was like, this is so random. That's what this was about. Like, it's like everything's finally fixing itself. I just got out of a really, really tough situation where, barely had heat in a trailer, very suffering for a while, and then finally snapping into it, and then finally getting out of it just to revert or almost go back. I know it's not the same, but it feels the same. So, and it's very hard, like you're saying, giving yourself grace is it's not in my DNA. To give myself grace is very, very hard on myself. It's one I've always been a workaholic. I work nonstop. I don't stop. Maybe that's me hiding from stuff. I'm sorry if this sounds all over the place. I'm just saying this as this comes to my brain because I'm struggling to make sense with a lot of it. So it is really weird that this video came up right now. It always happens like that, right? It's like that really check. But I feel him like, I don't want to be like this. Like, I don't. And it sucks because I never was. Like, when did it flip? When did it turn? When did it change? I was so against the stuff that I did last week. That is just wild that it happened. And I remember when I think it's just you lose a sense of purpose, and then you're like, oh, well, fuck it. Who cares? But then when I had that attack, I was in my garage. I fell to the floor, cold sweats. Never felt this before. This was different. It was different than other times. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I gave myself I don't know if you can get a heart attack and still make it, or like we almost went to the hospital. Luckily I didn't. Luckily I snapped out of it. But it was the first time like my whole body just couldn't control it anymore, and it was very, very, very scary. And I've been through that scary situation one other time. That's what made me sober up in the first place. But it's just sad that 4 years later, bam, right back at it again. Maybe not as bad, but yeah. I guess it boils down to like I said, just working too much. I'm just sick of fucking feeling miserable all the time, And that's what it is. And it's like the one thing you do that you at that time it feels like you're not miserable, but then it makes you the most miserable afterwards. I've put this thing in my head where I think I'm inherently always going to be miserable no matter what. I don't know why that's in there, but it is. I hid I messed up a month ago. Before that was 7 months went long. But I didn't talk about the other mess ups because I was ashamed. And this time I was like, I'm not going to pretend there's no mess up, because it's definitely longer stretches of not fucking up, but it's still happening. And I just don't want it to go back to every day like it was in the past. It's the only thing I can say for me is just being grateful that I'm not fucking doing it on streams and shit. I don't know if that's positive in all this. So, because I don't miss a day. And I know people know, like, oh, he missed Sunday. That's weird. I don't miss it for anything. The only way I'll ever miss it is because I'm too fucked up to show up on here. In the past, I would just show up. So I appreciate you guys saying that you look forward to doing this, because it definitely keeps me in that lane, to show up. Fuck. That's why I want to stop the coffee. Like, my addiction switched to coffee. And when I say like, it's hurting right now, like the middle of my chest hurting right now, and I know it's the caffeine. Like, I got to stop that because it leads into the other stuff eventually. Leads into, I think it just makes me stress a lot. And then it turns into other stuff. Like, when coffee's not enough for you, you search for that higher stimulant, right? Which is very scary, because I think on Sunday that was really scary, collapsing in that garage. Like, I don't think I've ever felt like cold sweats before, and now I know what that feels like. yeah. That's why hopefully everything's good with my friend. And like, it's like, we got to go talk to him. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm in no fucking place to be. I just got to be there for him, obviously. But I'm not going to be sitting there trying to offer diagnosis or ways that he can help. And like, I said to my friend, like, I'm just going to go there and just listen. Because I don't think anyone's giving him a chance to just talk. Everyone's telling him what to do, what he has to do. And I just think he needs somebody to not do that. And I think that's the issue. It's just fucking like, 2 people passed away. I was at a funeral Thursday. I kicked off that last week. The company I work for, the owner, I was pretty close with the 2 owners or whatnot. And seeing him in the casket, and then knowing my friend might be there too soon, it's like, fuck. But damn, yeah, sometimes just showing up is enough. That's what I'm hoping. I knew it was serious when my friend bought me a plane ticket and said, you got to get here now. I was like, okay. So I feel bad laying this out. Like, I can't lie. Like, I can say a lot of different reasons. I don't know why I feel like I need to say, hey, this is what actually happened. Like, because I don't know, feel like I'm in a lie, and like, yeah. And that's even worse, because that'll just head down another path that's just like horrible. So, but anyways, hope you guys still enjoy this. And yeah, I know it's pretty heavy at the end. And I'm not apologizing. I know a lot of you are saying like, oh, there's no need to apologize. I think I apologize in the sense of I feel bad possibly making somebody else worry. And I don't want anyone to worry. I'm still going through it, but still showing up. But anyways, you all stay safe out there. Take care of each other. See you all next one. See